Hello everyone. In this video we shall consider the routes of administration of the drugs. So how exactly the various types of drugs or various dosage forms can be administered, okay, so that the drug can be presented to the body. Okay, so here we are going to give special emphasis to the advantages as well as the disadvantages of individual routes. Okay. So now most of the drugs which are used, these can be administered by a number of routes. It's not that one particular drug can be administered by only one particular route. Say for example oral, the same drug can be administered by oral route as well as by the parenteral route also. Okay, so a number of routes are available for the administration of that particular drug so that it can be absorbed. Either it will act locally or it can be absorbed into the systemic circulation, that is in your blood circulation. Now the choice of appropriate route, okay, that is very important. Okay, you need to choose which route is suitable depending upon the situation. Okay, what is a particular situation, whether it is a normal treatment or whether it is an emergency. Okay, so you need to consider certain factors. There are certain factors which can govern the choice of a particular route which can be used in a particular situation. So there are certain factors which are relating to the drug and its properties, and there are certain patient related factors which can govern your choice of route which you are supposed to use for administration of that particular drug. Okay, so mostly you need to keep in mind the convenience of the patient or the particular properties of that particular drug. Certain drugs are absorbed well from certain sites, or when they are given through certain routes they are absorbed better. Okay, so as per the situation, as per whether it is an emergency or normal treatment, okay, you need to make a suitable choice for a particular route of administration. Now let us consider the factors which are governing the choice of route. Before going into the individual routes of administration, let us see which are those factors which are affecting your choice of route of administration. First factor is the physical and chemical property of that particular drug. Okay, whether that drug is in the solid form, whether it is in the liquid form, or whether it is in the gaseous form, in what form or what is the dosage form that you are utilizing. Again, it may be dependent upon the solubility or the stability of that particular certain, say for example certain drugs may not be soluble in a particular biological fluid. Okay, or certain drugs are not stable. Okay, some are degraded by the acids which are present. Okay, so they cannot be given by the oral route because in the stomach they will come across the acid. Certain drugs, their absorption is dependent upon the pH. Okay, or maybe when certain drugs are applied, they may have irritant property, so they cannot be applied over a particular skin or maybe the mucous membrane. So their physical as well as the chemical properties will determine your choice of route. Next factor is the site of desired action. Where exactly your drug is supposed to produce the action, whether that action which is needed, whether it is a localized and approachable one, like say for example if you have bruisings on your skin, so where you will apply, will you take the medication orally, should it reach your systemic circulation? Your site of action is that skin area, right, where exactly the damage has taken place. So certain drugs may be applied onto that particular area, right? So depending upon whether the site of action, where exactly the drug is supposed to act, whether it is localized, that is restricted to a particular area and it is easily approachable, wherein you can directly apply the drug to that particular area, or whether the action which is desired is a generalized one, maybe throughout the body, and whether it is non-approachable. Like supposing if there is some situation in which some internal organ is affected, wherein you need your drug to have the action, so that particular site is not approachable, right? Okay, you just can't take your drug and apply to that particular organ. So the site of action, it is non approachable, and in such situations you may require more generalized action to be produced. Then the next factor which can govern the route is the rate and extent of absorption of the drug from different routes. That is different. Okay, so particular drug, when it is given by a particular route, it will have certain rate at which it will start entering your blood circulation. So also the amount which will get absorbed, which will reach actually your systemic circulation, that is very important. How much you administer, you may administer say 1000 milligram, but only 100 milligram may reach your systemic circulation. So whatever is reaching your systemic circulation, that is your blood circulation, that is more important, because ultimately whatever drug is there in your blood circulation, that will actually be taken to the site of action. Okay, when the action is more generalized and when systemic action is required. Okay, so this rate and extent of absorption, that is the speed with which the drug is getting absorbed, that is very important. So if the drug is getting absorbed very slowly, there is no point, right? It will delay the action. So also the extent, that is amount of drug which is reaching your systemic circulation, that is also very important. A very less, say for example, out of 1000 milligram which you are administering, if only 10 milligrams is getting absorbed from a particular site, then there is no point in utilizing that particular route of administration. Okay, so depending upon the best rate and extent of absorption, you need to choose your suitable route, because the rate and extent of absorption of a drug may differ when it is administered by different routes. Okay, then next factor is the effect of digestive juices and the first pass metabolism on the drug. Now there are certain drugs which may get degraded by the digestive juices. Okay, there are several enzymes which are present in these digestive juices, maybe which are secreted in the stomach, mainly which are secreted in the small intestine, the pancreatic secretions and all. So they have several enzymes. Even in the mouth, several enzymes are secreted, as we have seen under the GIT. Okay, so also another factor is the first pass metabolism. Now first pass metabolism is the metabolism or the alteration of the drug before it reaches the systemic circulation. Now supposing, say, consider the oral route, a particular drug may directly enter into your liver first. Okay, or in the intestine itself the drug may get metabolized, that is, it may enzymatically get altered, there may be chemical alteration. If it gets converted into some other form, obviously it will not show its action. So certain drugs may be metabolized before even they show their action. So that's very important factor which can govern, because by certain routes the first pass metabolism may be higher. Okay, by certain routes the first pass metabolism is totally bypassed, liver is bypassed, so directly your drug will enter into your systemic circulation. So in that case you will have higher bioavailability and you may have a better action. Okay, then next factor is the rapidity with which the response is desired, whether it is a routine treatment or whether it is an emergency situation. Like say for example, if it is an emergency situation, you cannot go on giving the oral tablets to that particular patient, right? You may have to go for the injections of that particular drug because there is an emergency and you need a rapid action. Okay, then in case of routine treatment, you may go for the oral route or some other route, okay, wherein the absorption will take a little bit time. Then next factor is the accuracy of dosage which is required. Okay, with what accuracy, or whether certain effects of a particular drug may have to be titrated, you may have to monitor that. Okay, certain drugs are not safe, so you need to have accurate dosage. Okay, you may have to monitor that a particular amount is reaching your systemic circulation. Okay, so in that case IV route, intravenous route or inhalational route can provide the fine tuning, that is, you can easily monitor and control the levels of your drug in your systemic circulation. And the last factor is the condition of the patient. Supposing if the patient is unconscious, or if the patient is continuously vomiting, so you cannot go for the oral route, right? The patient may not be cooperative. Okay, it's not possible to use the oral route. So in that case, you may have to go for some other alternative routes. Okay, so these are some of the factors which are governing the choice of route. Now this picture depicts all the routes of administration. Okay, now these red colored spots which are shown over here, this is your drug. Now let us see, we'll brief over what are the different routes where exactly the drug can be administered. Okay, so here in this particular route, orally you can administer the that particular drug. It will go into your stomach, right? So this is your oral tablet. So from here the drug will dissolve and it will get released, and it will be entering into your systemic circulation. So here it will enter, first it will go to the portal vein. Okay, portal vein will take it to the liver. So here the drug, before it is reaching your systemic circulation, okay, before it is going to the heart, it must go to the heart, right? Your drug must go to the heart. Heart will pump it throughout the body. Okay, but in certain situations the drug is first taken to the liver, wherein the first pass metabolism may take place. Okay, so this is significant of particular drugs. Then next is the sublingual tablets, meaning here the tablets are just kept beneath the tongue. So here through the buccal mucosa the drug will be absorbed into the systemic circulation. Apart from this, another route is the nasal spray, wherein the drug is sprayed into the nasal region. Okay, either the drug will directly enter into your respiratory tracts, or it may be absorbed from this nasal mucosa. Okay, so inhalational may be there, or the nasal route. Okay, so from here again the drug will enter into your systemic circulation. Okay, and it will go throughout the body. Apart from this, there is certain other parenteral routes, wherein the drug is directly placed in the body fluids. Okay, so there are different sub classifications of this parenteral route. That is, either the drug is directly placed into the blood circulation, that is by intravenous injection, or the drug is injected in the muscular region. Further from here it will enter into the blood capillaries and it will be taken into the systemic circulation. Another route is the transdermal patch, this one. So drug is in the form of patch, like say for example the bandage, normal bandage. When you are getting hurt, you just apply a bandage over there, right? So it will slowly release your drug, and from here also the drug may get absorbed into systemic circulation. Okay, one more route is the rectal route. So here the drug may be absorbed into the blood vessels. Okay, so drug is administered in the form of suppositories or enemas. So mostly this route is erratic. Generally 50% of the bioavailability may be observed over here. Okay, but this route is utilized in certain situations. So here also systemic absorption is possible, whereas there is some amount of drug when it is administered by oral route, some amount may also get excreted out as it is. Okay, so these are the different routes of administration of the drug. Okay, so brief introduction to the different routes. Now let us consider all the routes one by one. Now basically the routes of administration, these can be classified into two main routes. Okay, depending upon what type of action is expected. Okay, whether you are expecting a local action which is restricted in a particular area of the body, so that you want the action of that drug to be produced in a restricted area, whole body will not be exposed to your drug. Or the second type of action which is expected is the systemic action, wherein the drug has to get absorbed into your systemic circulation, that is your blood circulation. From here it will be taken throughout the body, and one of the area where the drug is going will be your site of action, where exactly your drug should reach. Okay, so based upon whether local action is required or whether systemic action is required, it can be classified into two routes, local routes and the systemic routes. Okay, so the classification is as follows. First is the local routes. So again these can be subclassified into topical, deeper tissues and arterial supply. Then coming to the second type, that is systemic routes, these can be classified as oral, sublingual or buccal. These are discussed together, both of these. Then next is the rectal, fourth one is the cutaneous, fifth is inhalational, wherein it is inhaled into the lungs. Sixth is the nasal, wherein absorption is taking place from the nasal mucosa. Seventh is the parenteral. Again parenteral can be subclassified, like subcutaneous, which is also known as SC, intramuscular known as IM, intravenous known as IV, and intradermal injections. So these are the different routes of administration, the classification of the routes of administration. Now let us consider all of these one by one. Coming to the first type, that is the local routes. Okay, now as the name implies and as I have told you earlier, here this particular route, it can be used for localized lesions at the accessible sites, wherein you can just apply your drug wherever the action is expected. Okay, so these drugs which you are applying locally to a particular site, okay, these are the drugs whose absorption, systemic absorption from these particular sites is minimal or it is totally absent, meaning your drug will remain in that particular area. It will not go into your systemic circulation. It will produce its action locally at the site where you are applying that particular drug. Okay, so here higher concentrations can be attained at the desired site where you want that drug to produce the action without exposing the rest of the body. Okay, so once if the drug goes into your systemic circulation, obviously that blood will carry your drug throughout the body, right? Blood supplies the drug throughout the body, it supplies throughout the body, so it will not take the drug only in a restricted area, it will get exposed throughout the area. That is not the case with local route. Here the exposure to your drug is only in the restricted area, not the whole body. So as a result of this, the systemic side effects or the toxicity can be absent or minimal with this particular route. Okay, but in certain situations the same route may also act as a systemic route. Say for example, if the drug is administered in the form of transdermal patch, okay, or in the form of an ointment, certain drugs are impregnated in these patch. It is a bandage like structure, we will come to that a little later, or certain drugs are incorporated into ointments. So these drugs can as well get absorbed systemically even though they are applied locally onto your skin. Say for example, glyceryl trinitrate, this may be applied in the form of a patch or an ointment, but it has the capacity to get absorbed into your blood circulation though you are applying it locally. So in this situation the same route will act as a systemic route of administration. Okay, so if the drug is not getting absorbed systemically, it indicates that the drug is a local route when your drug remains in a restricted area. Now coming to the first type of local route, that is topical. Okay, so topical route means you are applying your drug externally to a particular surface for localized action in that particular region. Okay, now such kind of administration is quite convenient to the patient. Okay, because patient has to just applying it and leave it aside. Okay, so drug will act in that particular area. Okay, so it is quite convenient, just applying something onto your skin or something like that. Okay, now here there are different ways by which the drug can be applied in various localized areas. Some of the examples are given. Okay, so you can apply these drugs onto the localized lesions, say on skin, oropharyngeal or nasal mucosa to act locally, or something is instilled, some drugs are instilled into your eyes or ear canal or anal canal or the vagina in the form of lotions, or sometimes ointments are applied in these areas, creams or powders are applied, rinses, paints, drops, sprays, lozenges, suppositories and pessaries. So these are all the different dosage forms which can be applied locally to have the action in the restricted area. Okay. Now this is to do with the local application or the external application of the particular drug to produce the topical action, okay, wherein the drug is not absorbed systemically. Now there are certain situations wherein you are actually applying the drug in some interior areas of the body, okay. Though you are applying them in the interior areas of the body, still they act as locally in that particular area. Now there are for example certain non-absorbable drugs which are given orally for local action on the GI mucosa, okay. So here you are administering the drug by oral route, that person has to swallow that particular drug, but what is happening to that drug, it will reach your GI tract, in your gastrointestinal tract, and over that the drug will be released and it will act locally on this GI mucosa. It is not getting absorbed into systemic circulation. Example is sucralfate, vancomycin. There are certain drugs which are given in the form of inhalation also for their action onto the bronchi. They have to act locally on the bronchi. Say for example salbutamol, okay, cromolyn sodium. So these are the drugs which are supposed to act locally on the bronchi. They do not get absorbed into the systemic circulation. The next is the irrigating solutions or the jellies, like say for example povidone iodine or lidocaine. So these are the solutions which may be applied to the urethra, okay. So here these drugs are applied interiorly for irrigation purpose. Though they are applied interiorly, still they have to produce the local actions, okay. The next type of local route is the deeper tissues, okay. So here a syringe and the needle is made used of, okay. Now though a syringe and a needle are used, you are approaching certain deeper areas of the body, but still here systemic absorption is negligible, okay. So here these particular techniques are used in a specialized manner, like to produce the local actions in some certain restricted areas of the body. Here actually the injections are done interiorly in specific areas. Say for example intra-articular injection of hydrocortisone acetate. This injection is done in the knee joint. Now though you are injecting it in the joint to produce the local action in that particular area. Again, next example is infiltration around a nerve or intrathecal injection. So here the local anesthetic lidocaine is injected with the help of a needle, but it is injected around a nerve to have action on that particular nerve. From here the drug is not supposed to get absorbed into the systemic circulation. Another example is retrobulbar injection. Hydrocortisone acetate can be injected behind the eyeball. So here localized action is expected of this particular drug. Then the next local route is the arterial supply, okay. So here a close intra-arterial injection is given. Say for example in case of contrast media, if you are diagnosing something, say for example angiography, so you are here detecting whether there is some block in the coronary artery. So here a contrast media is injected. Now though it is injected in your arteries which are supplying to that particular area, okay, heart region. So you want to view those arteries, whether there is some blockage, whether the flow is proper or not, okay. Another example is the intra-arterial injection of the anti-cancer drugs which are infused in the femoral or the brachial arteries. So here specific arteries are identified and your drug is injected in that particular artery to have the localized action on the limb malignancy. So whichever limb, whether your particular hand may be affected, so you can identify that brachial artery and you can just inject your anti-cancer drug in that particular artery. So wherever that artery is supplying, your drug will be localized in that particular region and it will produce the action. Okay. Then next type of routes are the systemic routes. So here, as we have earlier discussed, that these are the routes wherein the drug is absorbed into the bloodstream and it is distributed throughout the body, and one of the site will be the site of action. Okay, so your blood is carrying your drug throughout the body. Okay, so this particular routes wherein your drug is absorbed into your blood circulation is known as the systemic routes. Now coming to the first type over here, that is the oral route. Okay, now oral route, it is one of the oldest and the most common mode for administration of most of the drugs, and by this particular route both the types of dosage forms, that is solid as well as liquid dosage forms, can be administered. So a number of examples are quoted over here which can be administered by the oral route. Now let us see what are the advantages of oral route. Okay, so the first advantage is it is quite safe and more convenient to the patient. Okay, as compared to the injections, obviously the patient will prefer for the oral route. Okay, next advantage is here, it does not need any assistance. You don't require any person to put that tablet into your mouth. You can take it yourselves, right? So here assistance is not required. You can administer the drug by yourselves. You don't need a second person to administer the drug. Next advantage is that it is non-invasive and often it is painless. Okay, here your tissues or some cells are not getting damaged over here. Okay, you are just putting that tablet in your mouth and you are swallowing with the help of water, and this route is also often painless. No pain is produced by this particular route. Then the medicament or the drug or that dosage form need not be sterile. Okay, so sterility is not required since it's a oral route. Sterility is not a compulsion. So because of this, it is quite cheaper. So in case of a particular drug in the form of a tablet, and if the same drug is formulated in the form of injection, obviously the injection will be more costlier, because the injection, it has to be injected into one of your body fluids. So you need it needs to be sterile, that is, it needs to be free of any kind of microorganism. Okay, so because of this particular requirement, the injections are quite costlier. Okay, whereas in case of oral route, the dosage forms are quite cheaper because sterility is not required. Then coming to the disadvantages of the oral route. So there are so many disadvantages of this oral route. Okay, though it is more convenient at the oldest route which is utilized, still there are so many disadvantages. Okay, so the first disadvantage is that the action is quite slower to develop. Your drug, first of all, if you are administering in the form of a tablet, it has to disintegrate, then it has to dissolve, then it has to cross the membranes, it has to reach your systemic circulation. In the meantime, first pass metabolism may take place. Okay, so that process is little bit longer for it to reach the systemic circulation. So action which is developed is quite slower. Slowly the plasma concentration will increase, and once the suitable concentration is reached, your drug will start producing the action. Okay, so action which is produced is quite slower. So it is not advisable to use oral route in case of emergencies. If there is an emergency, you have to go for the parenteral route wherein the drug is placed directly into your body fluids. Okay, in utmost emergency, IV routes are preferred, wherein directly the drug entire amount is placed into your blood circulation. The next disadvantage is the taste of the particular drug. Okay, in case if the drug is unpalatable, if the taste is not good, say for example chloramphenicol, these are difficult to administer because of the unpleasant taste. The patient may not consume that particular drug or that particular tablet through the oral route, because they will have that particular peculiar taste. So it may even induce the nausea or vomiting also, okay, because of the unpalatable taste. Now there is a particular way by which you can overcome this. Okay, so it can be overcome by filling this particular drug in the capsules, so it will mask the taste. Okay, so unpalatable drugs can also be administered by oral route without causing any problem if they are incorporated into capsules. Okay, next disadvantage is that it may cause nausea and vomiting. Okay, certain drugs may induce nausea and vomiting, say for example Emetic, so it cannot be given by this particular route. Also, if the patient is uncooperative, okay, if the person is mentally ill or unconscious patients, or if there is vomiting, okay, if vomiting patients are there, they also cannot consume the tablet by oral route or any dosage form by the oral route. Next is absorption of the drugs. This can be variable and erratic, so you cannot guarantee that a particular tablet or a particular dosage form which you are administering, it will give the same amount of drug in the blood circulation. The same amount of drug may not reach your systemic circulation, maybe in the same individual at different times, or in the different individuals at the same time. Okay, even there are cases wherein certain drugs are not at all absorbed, say for example streptomycin. Okay, then there are certain other disadvantages like susceptibility to the digestive juices, as we have seen under the factors. Okay, so there are certain drugs which can be destroyed by the enzymes which are present in the digestive juices, say for example penicillin G or insulin. These cannot be administered by the oral route because they are degraded by the enzymes which are present in the digestive juices. Or certain drugs may get metabolized before reaching into the systemic circulation, that is first pass metabolism. Directly the drug will be carried to the liver, which is a major metabolizing organ of the body. Okay, so your drug will get metabolized before it is showing the action. So what will happen? Your drug may not show the efficacy. Okay, so these are several disadvantages of the oral route. Coming to the next route, that is sublingual or the buccal route. Okay, so here the tablet or the pallet containing your drug, it is placed under the tongue in case of sublingual route, or it is crushed in the mouth and it is spread over the buccal mucosa. So from here slowly the drug will get dissolved into your saliva, and from the buccal mucosa ultimately it will reach your systemic circulation. Now let us see what are the different advantages of these particular routes. So here the absorption is relatively rapid. Okay, so actions can be produced within a few minutes because the absorption is taking place at a faster rate. Okay, though next advantage, though the administration is somewhat inconvenient to chew something or spread something or to keep something in the mouth for a long period of time, but still the advantage is that after the desired action is done, you can spit out the drug. So remaining drug which is not required, you can throw it out, right, by spitting. Okay, then one main advantage with this particular route is that liver is bypassed. Okay, that is here first pass metabolism is ruled out. Okay, there is no first pass metabolism. Okay, so your drug which is absorbed, it will directly go into the systemic circulation. Entire amount will go into the systemic circulation. So drugs which are having high first pass metabolism, these are specifically preferably given by this particular route. Then there are certain disadvantages. Okay, so only the certain type of drugs like lipid soluble and non-irritating drugs can only be given by this particular route. There are some examples which are quoted: glyceryl trinitrate, buprenorphine, then desamino-oxytocin. These are the examples which can be given by these routes. And next is rectal. Okay, so here specifically the irritant and unpleasant drugs, they can be inserted into the rectum in the form of suppositories or retention enema. So from here the drug can get absorbed into the systemic circulation. Okay, so a drug which is entering into the external hemorrhoidal veins, this will bypass the liver. So that's the advantage. So you have the assurity that at least about the 50% of the drug will be absorbed into the systemic circulation. Now let us see what are the advantages and disadvantages. This particular route, it can be used in case of vomiting or unconscious patient. That's the advantage of this particular route. Disadvantages include is that it is quite inconvenient and embarrassing to insert something into the rectum. Also, the absorption is slower, irregular, and it is unpredictable. You cannot predict what amount or what percentage of the drug can get absorbed. Even there are certain irritant drugs which can induce the inflammation of the rectal mucosa. So that can be quite inconvenient to that particular patient. Now, examples of the drugs include diazepam, indomethacin, paracetamol, and ergotamine, which are formulated in the form of suppositories which are to be inserted into the rectum. Next systemic route is the cutaneous. Now here again highly lipid soluble drugs can be applied over the skin. Okay, so as I've told you earlier that in case of topical route, something which is applied onto the skin supposed to act locally if that drug is not absorbed into your systemic circulation. But there are certain drugs which can be applied onto the skin for slow and prolonged absorption. So they will, though you are applying them topically, these drugs are meant to get absorbed into your systemic circulation. Okay, so here the drug can be either incorporated into an ointment and applied over a particular specified area of skin from which it is absorbed systemically. Now from the absorption from the skin, it is actually not significant. All of the drugs cannot get absorbed systemically when they are applied onto the skin. There are very limited number of drugs which can get absorbed. Okay, now how you can promote this absorption of these drugs which are applied on the skin, cutaneous region, which are meant for systemic absorption. So here it can be enhanced by rubbing the preparation. You can rub that particular ointment onto that area, your drug will get absorbed systemically. Okay, or you can incorporate your drug in the oily base, so that will promote the absorption. Also you can apply an occlusive dressing like bandages. Okay, so there is a backing film which is applied, so it will increase the hydration and it will promote the absorption of your skin. Okay, so your drug will get absorbed into systemic circulation. Now let us see in what form exactly the drugs are applied onto the skin for systemic absorption. Okay, so here there is a particular form in which you need to apply your drug. Okay, there are specialized transdermal therapeutic systems which are developed. Okay, now here what do you mean by these transdermal therapeutic systems? So here the drug is applied in the form of a transdermal patch. So here there are adhesive patches which mean to stick to your skin, and there is a membrane which will allow certain amount of your drug to cross that particular membrane and reach your skin. Okay, so patches are available of various sizes and shapes. Okay, and they are meant to just peel off and apply, just like your normal bandage which you apply if you are hurt. So what you do normally, you take a bandage, you just peel it off and apply over that particular area where you are hurt. So it's similar concept. Okay, but there is a slight difference in between these two. Okay, now let us see what exactly this transdermal therapeutic system is. Okay, so say consider this is your skin. Okay, skin area. So skin, obviously it will be supplied by the blood capillaries. Okay, then this is your transdermal patch. Now let us see what are the different parts. First of all, this is the backing film. Okay, so this is a transverse section which is shown. So there is a backing film. Okay, and just beneath that there is a drug reservoir. Okay, in between this backing film and there is a rate controlling micropore membrane. This is the one. Okay, so there are pores over here, as you can see this. Okay, so there is a reservoir in between this backing film and this rate controlling micropore membrane. Okay, so these porous membrane, it allows your drug to exit this particular reservoir where exactly your drug is placed. It is allowing only a specific amount of drug to move out at a particular rate. Okay, and just beneath this there is a adhesive layer which makes that particular patch to stick to your skin. And this adhesive layer, it is impregnated with the priming dose. A small amount of drug is also present in this adhesive layer, so that it will promote initial absorption of the drug. Okay, so this is to do with the transdermal patches. Okay, so the same thing is explained over here. Just like a bandage, you need to peel it off and you need to apply it over the surface of your skin, and by diffusion your drug will be released from that microporous membrane, and by means of diffusion it will get absorbed into your systemic circulation. So the rate of this release of this drug, it is selected in such a way that it is the slowest, it is even less than the slowest rate of absorption from the skin. Okay, so what will happen because of this? There won't be any variations. Okay, so variations in the route of absorption from the different sites, that is ruled out. Okay, because the rate of release is quite slower. Okay, so your drug will be delivered at a constant and predictable rate. So you know at what rate your drug is getting delivered to your that particular site from which it is getting absorbed. So this is quite advantageous. Your drug is released at a particular rate, okay, and it is quite predictable. You know how much amount is entering your systemic circulation. Now these patches can be applied at different areas like chest, abdomen, upper arm, lower back, buttocks, or mastoid regions. So these are the usual sites wherein it is applied. Okay, and these are the examples: glyceryl trinitrate, fentanyl, nicotine, estradiol. These are the examples of transdermal patches which are available. A lot of research also is going on in this particular area, okay, because it is quite convenient. Okay, once you need to apply that patch and leave it, so drug will automatically get released continuously over a period of time. Okay, so these are generally designed to release your drug over a long period of time, say 1 to 3 days. Okay, so it is quite convenient. So let us see what are the different advantages and disadvantages. So here a smooth plasma concentration of the drug is provided without any fluctuations, because the rate of release is a controlled one. So it will not happen that suddenly a large amount of drug is getting released. So it is releasing at a constant rate. So there won't be any fluctuations in your plasma concentrations. Okay, it is getting absorbed at a particular rate, fixed rate. Okay, then there are less chances of inter-individual variations, as we have seen in the earlier routes. Okay, oral route, there may be variations, right? Okay, the amount of absorption, it may not be same, the rate of absorption, it may not be same, but here there is little inter-individual variations, and even there are less chances of side effects because the rate of absorption is also a controlled one. So also these are quite convenient, and patient compliance is quite better in this case, because the patient has to just apply it and leave it over a period of time. Okay, so it is quite convenient to the patient rather than taking the medication again and again. Then there are certain disadvantages also. Now since it is a specialized system which is developed, these are quite expensive. Okay, so also the site wherein you are applying, it may result in local irritation in that area or erythema. Some people may be allergic to that adhesive which is utilized over here. So this disadvantage, it can be overcome by changing the site. Supposing we have seen that there are several sites at which you can apply that particular patch, right? So once if you apply it on the chest, next time you can change the place, you can apply it on the lower back, next time you can apply it on the upper arm. So you can go on changing the sites. Okay, so change in site will not change the absorption of that particular drug, because the rate of absorption is selected in such a way that it is lower than the minimal absorption from the skin in any region of the body. Okay, so that's the advantage of this particular formulation. Then next systemic route is the inhalation. So there are certain drugs which are present in the form of a gas, or there are certain drugs which are in the form of volatile liquids which will get vaporized, and those vapors are inhaled by the person for systemic absorption. Okay, so they will be inhaled, reach the lungs, and from alveoli they will reach your systemic capillaries into your lungs. So best example is the general anesthetics. There are certain which are present in the gaseous form, certain which are found in the volatile liquid form. Okay, so these are inhaled by the patient and then it will produce the systemic action. Now advantages of this particular route is that here a vast surface area is available for absorption, because alveoli, we know that there are number of alveoli and they are small in size, so that the surface area is increased. Okay, so a rapid absorption with quick action can be produced in this particular route. Okay, so also when the administration is discontinued, supposing if your particular action is done, so what you can do, you can just stop the administration. All the gases or vapors which have entered, all the gases and vapors, they will come back by the same route. Okay, so the route of administration will become the route of elimination, and all the drug will be removed out through the exhaled route or the exhaled air. And again here the controlled administration is possible, and you can titrate the action. Okay, you can do the fine tuning in this particular case. You can adjust the dose very easily over here as to produce the desired amount of action. Then the disadvantage include if the particular vapor or the gas is a irritant one, what will happen? It can induce the inflammation of the airways. Also it can increase the secretions in the respiratory tract, so that can be quite dangerous sometimes. Okay. Next route is the nasal. So here the drug is applied to the mucous membrane of the nose, and from here it will get absorbed into the systemic circulation. So here advantage is that digestive juices and the liver are bypassed. So those drugs which are susceptible to get metabolized by the digestive or destroyed by the digestive juices, or those which have high first pass metabolism, so such type of drug can be given by nasal route. Then the disadvantage is that only very few drug can be given by this particular route in the specialized type of formulations. Then the next route is the parenteral route. Now this word was derived from two words, par meaning beyond and enteral meaning intestinal. So you are placing your drug beyond the intestinal mucosa, meaning it does not have to cross any membrane, mucous membrane or the lipoidal layer rather. It should not have to cross. Okay, so your drug is placed directly into the tissue fluids or the blood without having to cross the intestinal mucosa. Okay, so that is the reason why it is known as the parenteral. Okay, so here all the disadvantages of your oral route, okay, they will be overcome by this particular route. Okay, so if you can see, the advantages and disadvantages are somewhat reverse in this particular situation. Okay, so coming to the advantages of the parenteral route. So here the drug action is faster and surer. Okay, so in case of oral route we have seen that action was slow and emergency use was not possible, but here the action is faster and sure, so it is quite valuable in case of emergencies. Also gastric irritation and vomiting are not provoked, okay, because you are not administering through the GI tract. Then this route can be utilized in case of unconscious or uncooperative or vomiting patient, okay, which is not possible with the oral route. So also there are no chances of interference with the food or digestive juices, and this is very important, liver is bypassed. So no first pass metabolism will take place in this particular case. Then coming to the disadvantages. So here the preparation, since the drug needs to be placed directly into your body fluids or systemic circulation, this preparation needs to be sterile, that is free of any kind of microorganisms. So that's why it is costlier. So that's a biggest disadvantage of this particular route. Also this technique is invasive and painful. Okay, so you are using needles and syringes, so this route becomes invasive and painful. Certain tissues or cells may get damaged and it is also painful. Again, self injections are mostly not possible, Okay, you need assistance of another person. Okay, in certain situations like subcutaneous injections may be taken by the particular patient, especially the best example is the insulin injections. So these can be taken by the patient themselves. Okay, so their assistance may not be required, but mostly in this particular route assistance will be required. Okay, then there are chances of the local tissue injury. Okay, because you are using a syringe and a needle, local tissue damage may take place. Okay, so this particular route is quite risky because you are exposing all your cells, body cells, to the drug. Okay, so this can be quite risky at times. Okay, now coming to the different types of routes which can be utilized under the parenteral route. The first one is the subcutaneous route. Okay, so here the drug is deposited in the subcutaneous tissues. Okay, loose subcutaneous tissues. Now this particular areas, these are richly supplied by the nerve. So in this situation you cannot give the irritant drugs. So drugs which are irritant in nature, you cannot inject these because it will result in painful sensation. Okay, but at the same time this area is less vascular, that is there are no much blood vessels in these or blood capillaries in this particular area. Okay, so absorption is little bit slower when you compare this route with the intramuscular route. Okay, then only a small volumes of the drug can be injected by this particular route. Very large volumes you cannot administer by this particular route. Also self injection is possible because deep penetration is not required. Okay, then one care has to be taken in this particular situation is that this route should be avoided in case of shock patients. Okay, already in them vasoconstriction is seen, so here absorption will be delayed. So this route is not supposed to be preferably used in such situations. Okay, whereas here depot preparations are possible. You can give the depot preparations, okay, for sustained release of a particular drug. Like aqueous suspensions can be injected. So from this suspensions, slowly those particles will dissolve and start releasing your drug. Okay, now there are some specialized forms of this particular route. That is, first one is the dermojet. So here a needle is not required, but your drug in the form of a high velocity jet, a drug solution is projected onto your skin, so it will be deposited in the superficial layers in the subcutaneous tissue. Okay, so this is painless and non-invasive method. Okay, next one is the pallet implantation. So here solid pallets of your drug are introduced beneath your skin in the subcutaneous region with the help of torture and cannula. So here the drug will be released from that pallet slowly over the period of time, maybe for weeks or even for the months. Okay, so these are the examples. Testosterone is an example. Then the next type of specialized form is the Cialis, that is non-biodegradable and biodegradable implants. Okay, so here the crystalline drug, it is packed in certain tubes or capsules, and these are implanted under the skin. Okay, so these are again for the sustained release of your drug from these particular implants. Okay, but as the name implies, the implant can be non-biodegradable or biodegradable. Now if that implant is biodegradable, into whatever form you are administering it, it will get degraded. Once the drug is released, slowly that particular implant also will get degraded. But in this case, non-biodegradable one, you need to remove that implant later on. Okay. Then next type of parenteral route is the intramuscular or IM route, it is popularly known as. Okay, so here the drug is injected into the large skeletal muscle. So these are some of the examples. They can be injected into deltoid, triceps, gluteus maximus, rectus, femoris. So these are some of the large skeletal muscles into your body into which the drug is injected. Now these muscles, these are less richly supplied by sensory nerve. So irritant drugs can be injected in this particular situation. Okay, and these are more vascular, meaning from here absorption can be faster. Now this particular route is a little bit less painful, okay, but self injection is not possible because deeper penetration may be required. Now again here depot preparations can be given in the form of oily solutions or aqueous suspension, so that the drug will be released slowly and it will get absorbed into the systemic circulation. Then the next type is the intravenous injections or IV injections. So here either the drug is given in the form of a bolus, that is at once the drug is injected, or it can be infused over a period of time, that is slow injections are given over say hours. Say for example your IV fluids, okay, saline, okay, so they are infused over a few hours, okay, whereas there are certain situations in which the drug can be injected at once. So here the drug is placed directly into your bloodstream. So here the drug need not cross any membrane. Even in case of subcutaneous and intramuscular route, it has to cross at least the capillary endothelium. But here it is directly placed into your bloodstream. So action which will be produced, it is quite quick, and this is utilized in case of emergency situation. Okay. Now this intima of the veins, it is quite insensitive, and even the drug will get diluted by the drug immediately once it is injected. So quite irritant drug, highly irritant drug can be injected by IV route. Okay, but there are certain situations wherein the drug can cause thrombophlebitis, that is the inflammation of that injected vein, or if it extravasates, that is if it accidentally placed outside the blood vessel, then it can result in necrosis, that is tissue damage. Okay, so to avoid these situations, you can sometimes administer this drug in the running IV line. Okay, IV drip when it is continued. Over there also you can inject your drug, so slowly it will enter your systemic circulation. Now there are certain precautions which are supposed to be taken. Okay, first of all, you need to place the needle properly, as to drug should enter only into the bloodstream. Okay, next is only aqueous solutions can be given. Suspensions cannot be given in this particular situations, otherwise those particles can clog the capillaries. Okay, so depot preparations cannot be given by this particular route, only aqueous solutions can be given. Okay, then dose of the drug required over here will be smallest of all the route, because 100% of your drug which you are administering, it reaches your systemic circulation. Okay, now one major advantage which is offered with this, in case of this the response is measurable, and you can titrate a particular dose to produce a particular amount of action. However, the problem is that it is quite risky, as all the vital organs may get exposed to high concentration of the drug. Okay, then the last type of parenteral route is the intradermal injection. Okay, so here this is a specialized technique wherein the drug is injected and into the skin by raising a bleb, or by scarring, damaging the skin, or by multiple punctures in the skin or in your epidermis. So here drug is applied, okay, for some specialized purposes, say vaccination or something like that. Okay, so this is to do with the different routes of administration. Now coming to the important questions in this particular part, classifications of the route of administration may be asked, or a note on any of the route of administration may be asked. Okay, or a full question on routes, directly on the routes of administration, wherein you need to explain all the routes, or maybe sometimes specifically advantages and disadvantages of certain routes also may be asked.